But also, I'd like to know if you think it has a lot to do with today as well. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I think there are a lot of parallels. I don't think that you can use the past to predict the future, but you can certainly use the past as a guide to help navigate the present, and at least to flag up certain similarities and, in this case, possibly warnings. I think there are a huge number of parallels between the 1930s and the era we have just been living through. The 1930s was an era of extremism and increasing danger in the world, precipitated by a global financial crisis, which was caused by the Wall Street crash in October 1929, a global depression, which followed and was followed similarly across much of the Western world following the 2007-2008 financial crisis, and a huge lack of confidence in the integrity and unity of the West and its ability to uphold normal democratic values, but also cope with the problems of its citizenry, and indeed also to maintain traditional alliances. And I think it's the fracturing of Western values and the failures of Western statesmen and countries in both the 1930s and in the decades that we've just experienced, which has led to a great rise of tension and allowed dangerous foreign leaders to capitalize on this situation.
Bueno, sí, creo que hay muchos paralelos entre ahora y el pasado. No podemos usar el pasado para predecir lo que va a pasar, pero sí lo podemos usar como guía para navegar el presente, y lo podemos considerar también como advertencia. Hay muchísimos paralelos entre la década de 1930 y el presente, muchísimos. Estaba el extremismo, había mucho peligro en el mundo, era el inicio de una crisis con la caída de la bolsa de valores en Wall Street en octubre del 29, luego la Gran Depresión. Similarmente, tuvimos una crisis financiera iniciando en 2007, 2008, y como la falta de confianza, los dirigentes, los líderes occidentales no logran unir al occidente, a mantener los valores democráticos, a lidiar con las necesidades de los ciudadanos y a mantener las alianzas con otras potencias. Y entonces creo que es el fracaso de los líderes de los estados en los años 30 y ahora, y ese aumento de la tensión permite que ciertos líderes tomen ventaja, se aprovechen de esa situación de tensión para llevar a cabo lo que quieran.
Usted dice en su libro que Chamberlain se dejó persuadir por Hitler, era una persona aparentemente inocente. Chamberlain cree que los líderes de hoy tienen ataques de esa inocencia, o cómo los ve ahora, digamos.
The way you write in your book, and you describe Chamberlain, that he allowed himself to be persuaded by Hitler, as if there was some, like innocence there. Do you think that leaders today have those same kind of attacks of innocence?
Yes, I think they do. I think it's not true in the case of Vladimir Putin, and nobody could suggest that the West is seriously easing Vladimir Putin now. Our support for Ukraine may be inadequate. Certainly it is incomplete, but it's not nothing. But I think leaders make this mistake the entire time. To become leader of your country in a democracy, you have to be an extremely successful, persuasive, often charismatic politician. You've persuaded numerous constituents, both within your own party and in the country, to vote for you many times. And to get your business done is a matter of persuasion almost every day. And then when you become the leader of this country, you tend to believe that this power of persuasion can somehow translate onto the world stage. And that almost never, ever happens, because people have their own domestic, political, and ideological agendas. Even when the relationship is good, obviously good, and there are good results come from this relationship, the main political results stem from political and geostrategic reasons, not from personalities. So, for instance, the Cold War did not end because Mikhail Gorbachev got on well with Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher. It ended for geopolitical, strategic and economic reasons and ideological reasons. It helped that they got on, but that was not the same reason. Similarly, in the Second World War, you see both Winston Churchill and, to a great extent, Franklin Roosevelt making much the same mistake with Joseph Stalin, which Neville Chamberlain made with Adolf Hitler, namely that they themselves will be able to keep Stalin within bounds, keep the Soviet Union within bounds, allowing for some sort of freedom in Eastern Europe and freedom along the Soviet Union's current borders, because they have developed a personal rapport with him. And that turned out to be as illusory as Neville Chamberlain's belief that he had somehow won Hitler's trust and that Hitler would not break his word.
Sí, creo que sí, pero no creo que sea cierto de Putin. El Occidente no lo está tratando de esa manera. Sí hay apoyo para Ucrania, aunque sea no suficiente, incompleto, pero no es nada. Hay que considerar que los líderes son en general gente exitosa, han podido persuadir a la gente, son carismáticos, han persuadido a muchos de su partido y de otros partidos votar por ellos, si no, no llegarían a donde han llegado. Y es su trabajo, en realidad, persuadir. Y esto no se traduce exactamente al entorno global, porque los otros líderes tienen sus propias agendas, sus propias políticas, ideologías y así. Y también es un error pensar que solo por llevarse bien entre los líderes eso va a cambiar las cosas, porque las razones detrás de los eventos grandes son políticos, geoestratégicos, económicos e ideológicos. Muchos piensan, bueno, Gorbachev, Ronald Reagan y Margaret Thatcher se llevaban muy bien, pero esa no es la razón que ocurrió lo que ocurrió. Y en la Segunda Guerra Mundial con Churchill y Roosevelt, bueno, hubo el mismo error con Stalin que se había visto con Chamberlain hacia Hitler. Pensaban, sí, vamos a mantener a la URSS dentro de ciertos límites, y pensaban que podían hacer eso porque tenían se llevaban bien, había una relación personal ahí, pero es totalmente ilusorio, así como Chamberlain pensaba que había ganado la confianza de Hitler, pero no funciona así.
Ahora, en su línea de pensamiento piensa que Putin es como Hitler, habría que apaciguar a Putin. A mí me parece que la guerra entre Rusia y Ucrania tiene muchos más argumentos que los que dice la OTAN, me parece, ¿no? No sé cómo lo ve usted.
Do you think then that Putin is like Hitler, that they should be appeasing Hitler? I think there are a lot more arguments in this situation with Ukraine and today. What do you think?
No, I don't think Vladimir Putin is like Hitler at all. And I don't think the West is appeasing Russia now. I think that Hitler is a historical figure of unparalleled ambitions and destruction and, for want of a better word, evil. I don't believe that Vladimir Putin has nearly such a all-encompassing ideology as Adolf Hitler. I think he has a relatively simple ideology, which is to say that he believes in the greatness of Russia, just as his predecessors, the leaders of the Soviet Union and the Tsars before him, did. And he believes that Russia has a predestined right to dominate her region, to dominate Eurasia. And he is determined to do that. And he is determined to place himself and his country in the history books. And he is indifferent to the costs, either to his own citizens or certainly to those outside it, in order to achieve those aims. So I don't think he is the same. I think he has launched an unprovoked and bloody war, but very much unlike Hitler in 1939, most things seem to be going very wrong for Vladimir Putin at this time. He has encountered much stronger resistance from the Ukrainians than people thought that he would, and it does make one wonder what would have happened, indeed, had the Czechoslovaks decided to fight in 1938. So no, I don't think that Putin and Hitler are the same.
No, para nada, no creo que sean iguales. Y tampoco creo que el Occidente esté apaciguando a Rusia ahora. La verdad que Hitler tenía como ambición, destrucción, maldad sin paralelo. Y Putin no tiene la misma como ideología amplia que cubría todo. Putin tiene una ideología más sencilla. Básicamente es la grandeza de Rusia, y es como los líderes rusos previos bajo el comunismo, con los zar, que sentían que eran destinados a tener el derecho a dirigir en su región, y quieren lograr eso. Así que no es lo mismo. Rusia sí ha lanzado una guerra sangrienta y sin provocación en contra de Ucrania, pero tampoco le está yendo tan bien. Hay más resistencia de lo que tal vez consideraban, pero le hace pensar a uno qué hubiera pasado si hubieran resistido en Checoslovaquia. Pero bueno, no creo que sean igual. Putin y Hitler.
Ok, yo creo que sin provocación es un poco complicado decir que sin provocación Rusia ha invadido Ucrania, pero bueno, eso es lo que yo pienso. Lo que sí quería decirle es que en su libro habla de Winston Churchill y qué cosas le hacen pensar que deberían ahora ser producto de los líderes con respecto a Winston Churchill, digamos, lo destaca, digamos, en la historia, ¿no?
Perdón, ¿puede repetir la parte de cuál es la pregunta?
Claro, ¿qué cosas, qué cualidades lo ve en Winston Churchill que debería tener los líderes de hoy?
Sorry, I just asked her to clarify the question. Well, saying Russia is invaded without provocations, that's a little complicated to say, but well, that's just my opinion. Back to your book, Winston Churchill. I wanted to know what qualities do you see in Winston Churchill that would be qualities for today's leaders?
Winston Churchill was prepared to say things and do things which were unpopular. And I think that that is something which today's leaders need. He got many, many things wrong throughout his career and had an enormous number of disasters cut short his career or stymie his career at various points. But I cannot think of a single instance in his career when he lacked integrity or moral courage. And these are qualities which are seriously lacking in our leaders these days. We have far too many leaders who lack integrity, who are not prepared to be honest with their constituents, with the public, with the media, with their colleagues, and altogether lack moral courage and are purely interested in surviving, and that in itself has become easier, the process of political survival and the process of political sustainability, for want of a better word, because we as publics have got used to a lack of integrity, a lack of honesty, and a lack of moral courage. And I think we should get unused to it. We should become intolerant of these vices and demand better from our leaders.
Lo que hacía Churchill es que decía y hacía cosas que no eran populares. Y eso es algo que podrían usar, que necesitan los líderes de hoy. Churchill hizo muchas cosas, se equivocó muchas veces, incluso afectó su trayectoria en ocasiones, pero siempre lo que hacía lo hacía con integridad y con valentía moral. Y eso es algo que falta por completo hoy. Los de hoy no tienen esa integridad, los líderes, solo les preocupa, bueno, no son honestos con la gente los ciudadanos, con los medios, con sus colegas, no son honestos. Y tampoco tienen esa valentía moral, para nada, solo quieren sobrevivir. Y creo que nos hemos acostumbrado a esa falta de integridad, a esa falta de honestidad y la falta de la valentía moral. Pero no deberíamos tolerarlo, deberíamos exigir más de los líderes.
La última pregunta es que con su libro ha tenido muchísimo éxito, incluso habla de cómo Alemania se ha puesto el tema de Hitler se ha puesto como moralmente muy, muy bien, y sin embargo Polonia está cada vez más derechista. ¿Qué siente al haber escrito este libro? ¿Siente que los historiadores todavía tienen muchísimo para hablar de Hitler?
Okay. Last question. You've had amazing success with this book. In Germany, the response seems to be that morally they are doing quite well, but at the same time, Poland is heading in a rightward direction. How do you feel having written this book? And do you think that there's more to say and learn about Hitler?
Well, I'm delighted that the book has done well. I think that there were two major reasons for writing the book. One is that it looks at the whole period from 1933 through to 1940 to try and see how attitudes changed and developed, meaning that if we want to understand how we get to a certain space, we can't just look at the immediate past. If we want to understand why we are in this situation with Putin and the war in Ukraine, then the last year is only of so much interest. We need to go back a couple of decades, if not longer. Secondly, there were so many accounts of the appeasement years which are highly academic and retrospective. And so by finding new material, particularly the diaries of some of the amateur diplomats in Britain, members of the aristocracy who went out to Germany and tried to broker peace deals with Hitler, and also the published diaries of MPs, the diplomatic correspondence. By weaving this all together, I thought that I could write a narrative which would allow readers to experience the moral and political dilemmas that contemporaries experienced on a daily basis. I wanted the reader to be immersed in the period and have the same information that contemporaries had, so that they can ask themselves, as I indeed ask myself, what would I have done under these circumstances? So that was the aim.
Bueno, obviamente me da mucho placer que el libro haya tenido tanto éxito. Hubo dos razones principales por escribir este libro. Abarca todo el periodo de 1933 hasta 1940 y quería mostrar o que pudiéramos ver las actitudes, cómo cambiaban, cómo se desarrollaban. Y es muy importante que para aprender del pasado no se puede simplemente ver al pasado inmediato. Por ejemplo, si vemos la situación hoy día de Ucrania, no es suficiente ver lo que pasó en el último año. Hay que mirar por lo menos décadas para entender. Y bueno, sí hay trabajos académicos acerca de los años de apaciguar a Hitler. Hay muchos diarios personales de como diplomáticos aficionados, de políticos, también individuos, ciudadanos, por ejemplo, unos que iban a Alemania y trataban de como organizar algunos tratados de paz y así. Y lo que quise hacer es como hacer una gran trenza, juntar todas esas narrativas, juntarlos para que el lector de mi libro pudiera experimentar las mismas dilemas morales y políticas que enfrentaban las personas en ese momento, y quería que tuvieran los lectores la misma información que estaba disponible en ese momento, y así uno se pregunta y yo me pregunto, ¿qué hubiera hecho yo? Y eso quería que el lector se pregunte eso.
Muchas gracias por la entrevista y felicidades por su libro.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the interview and congratulations for your book.
Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Fue un placer hablar con usted.